Hey bookworms, welcome back to my channel and to another book review. Today I will be talking about The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. This is a non-fiction historical book that takes place between 1891 and 1894 in Chicago. And what happened is that after France has this great world fair and present the new magnificent Eiffel Tower to the world, the Americans decided to be very American and to prove to the world that they can do one better. So the main story focuses on Daniel Burnham, who was the main architect of the first American World Fair, of which the planning and building and construction were definitely not smooth sailing. And to make things even worse, the fair wasn't the only interesting thing going on in Chicago at the time, because while Burnham and his men were focusing on wowing the American people and hopefully the world, a man called H.H. Holmes wreaks havoc on the city, becoming one of America's most prolific and notorious serial killers. I feel like this book is rather well known in certain circles like architecture, US history, or true crime. I came from the latter angle, and I really love true crime and I wanted to read about H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, and I heard that this is the book to read if you're interested in him. And if you're also into true crime, you most likely have heard of Holmes. Some people even claim that he was actually Jack the Ripper. I actually say that it doesn't really make sense, but I'm no expert, just a crazy girl who knows way too much about serial killers. So imagine my immense disappointment when I read this book and realized it's really not about H.H. Holmes at all. Holmes takes about a third of the book, and I don't mean just the physical space of the number of pages he's mentioned in. It was clear to me very early on that Holmes was probably never supposed to have been in this book at all. I heard people claim, and I tend to agree even though I have no idea about behind the scenes of this book, that Larson just wanted to write a book about the World Fair, but then maybe the publishers or someone probably pushed him to put Holmes there. Maybe they thought it would make the book more interesting. By the way, Holmes had zero connection with the fair. He did take advantage of the big traffic heading toward Chicago to murder more people and steal their money, and apparently also visited the fair, he and millions of other people, but he never met Burnham. It's never implied that he came to Chicago for the fair or that the fair changed his existing plans. No. This book was about one event which Holmes was shoved into forcefully and ungracefully, because make no mistake, there is zero efforts in the parts where he is concerned. That's what I was talking about when I said that he takes so little of the plot. In the parts about the fair, there is so much love and passion and soul, the pride of the people's work, the hopefulness of the fair, the fear and frustration when things go wrong. But at the part talking about a man who enjoyed killing people, we barely get a coherent storyline. So many parts are missing for us to connect the dots. For example, there is one bit where he asks his wife to come with him somewhere, and then in the next, he says that he's a single man. Honestly, Holmes felt like an afterthought, and as much as I hate the romanticizing of serial killers that we often see today, this book does a disservice to Holmes, but it does mostly disservice to his victims by writing about them so offhand. I just think if you're writing about a certain subject, do it justice, talk about it. Find out what's so unique about it. Ask questions about motives. Look into his life, how a psychopath without compassion, how he saw the world. To be honest, I always felt like H.H. Holmes was very overrated, second only maybe to Ted Bundy, but that's a different story. But there's a lot of interesting things about his story. He had such elaborated ways to kill people. He also probably started by just scamming and stealing money, and when he started killing people for their life insurance and such, he realized that he also really enjoyed it. He was the ultimate charming killer, unlike Bundy. So handsome, so attentive, but he couldn't care less about people. I feel like a book with him as a character could be a great opportunity to look into his psychology or maybe childhood and pose a question of, was he born and was he made? Nature versus nurture. But no, there's nothing here. Holmes's part in the book are written so lacklusterly, if that's a word. Okay, let's move on. So the main reason for me reading this book was pretty much non-existent. That's my main issue with this book. But beside that, I have to say that this book was rather boring. The author tried to make it come to life a little bit by using quotes from diaries and letters, but it was still so dry. At a certain point, it also gets very repetitive. I mean, I get Larson wanted to be loyal as possible to the actual events, but come on, how many times do we need to hear about the bad weather, people being fired, and the search for replacements, and how they don't think they will manage to build everything on time? But I will say that I did like those moments where we see celebrities before they were famous, people like Helen Keller, Frank Lloyd Wright, and even Walt Disney's father. So, to sum it up, I did not enjoy this book much. It wasn't about what I thought it would be, and even though the summary states that it's not exclusively about Holmes, I did expect it to be at least slightly about him. Seriously, I've heard informative videos and podcasts about Holmes that mention this book as their main source, and now I'm very skeptical about them. So, do I recommend this book? Well, if you want to know about the history and behind the scenes of the Chicago World Fair, then yeah. If you're interested in knowing about H.H. Holmes, the serial killer, then no. And guys, those were my thoughts on The Devil in the White City. So far in 2022, I haven't read one book that I really loved. Let's see how we progress in the following month. Guys, thank you very much for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please don't forget to click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and write me a comment down below so that YouTube won't forget about me. Write if you have a recommendation for a good true crime book. Again guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.